We thought we might take y'all behind the scenes today as I build our new editing rig. This is the best I could do with the budget. Unfortunately, with graphics cards the way they are, I wasn't able to get much better than a 4060 Ti 8 gig. But this still will probably tenfold better than what the rig we are working on right now. Go ahead and take our power supply out. This is a 1000E, which is a 1000 watt rated. We have a few cables here. Comes with some of our zip ties. So we're going to build it outside of the case first to kind of check through everything, see if everything posts and we're good, and then we'll build it inside the case. So when you're looking for wattage for your machine, you take the CPU, the GPU, and then I think what the industry standard is, you take another 130 watts or so for the board, and then drives, I think maybe, I'd have to look that up again. Key thing is that on the processor, for instance, the 13th gen i7, I think it was rated for 250 watts, I believe. That's just at a normal load. It actually boosts a lot higher than that. You always want to have plenty of headroom when you're buying your power supply. Our gigabit main board. Comes with this nifty little adapter. Well, I'll show y'all what that is later. Comes with your SATA connector, a little Wi-Fi antenna. There we go. We'll go ahead and pop in the processor first, I think. So this LGA 1700 frame right here that the chip sits into, I'm going to replace this stock frame. One of these frames that I've read that actually gives it a little bit better sitting because it can make better contact. It actually keeps the degrees down by up to 10%. So that sounds good. I'm not sure if that's really true or not, but a lot of people who have done this more than I have said so. So just for the testing of this on the bench here, we're going to go ahead and install it with this particular frame. All right. So, in all these chips, you'll see a little arrow, and there'll be a matching arrow on this frame here. And there's also some keys, and I do not see that little triangle. So, I'm just going to see if that kind of fits there, that fits there. So it looks like it's going to be this direction, but we'll see what happens. Yes, I see it. Pick that up on the camera or not. Right there is that little triangle. And then you just close it up. That little protective cover pops out. We're going to go ahead and put this, because we have another one coming, into the secondary. And we'll wait until tomorrow, because it should be here by then, put it into the main. Oh, good. They don't allow the screws to actually fall through, so that's good news. Now the one that you're going to use, or the fastest one that you have, I should say, is going to be closer to the CPU. So that has its own area. This is for your excess. Or extra. There we go. I'm not used to toolless. Oh, that's already there. This has a tiny little protrusion holding it down. That's all it is. Okay. I think I would like screws better, but Thank you. And that would be this pad here. Now let's get this RAM installed. Now on the board, we're going to populate A2 and B2. Too bad they didn't do D2. Never any love for them. Sad, really. Although I'm pretty sure I'm going to regret not getting a 64 to begin with. I'll probably talk about that when we talk about XMP in there in the BIOS setup at some point. Alright, well RAM will only go in one way. Well, unless you get a bigger hammer. But obviously we're not talking about. Well, that's pretty looking RAM, isn't it? I hope that's metal. Should be a heat sink. Yeah, it probably is. At first I thought that was plastic there for a minute. About to rip that off. That's a lot nicer than some of them I've seen where you had to split one way or another. You can torture yourself to get down there. I guess I should take the shield off then. And new ones. Not used to all this nice new stuff. Let's see here. There we go. Well, I didn't really hear a satisfying pop just then. What's in there? Alright, well that's not sitting in there exactly straight. Ooh, here we go. Maybe I'll insert this on this side just to kind of... My goal here is just to get it to post, or to get to the BIOS, check and see if it sees everything that we have. So I think I'm just going to put a fan on and hope it stays cool enough. I mean, worst thing that happens is if it doesn't, it just shuts itself down. Let's power some things up here. There it goes. And there goes some of my skin. We need to hook up the CPU. This one has two because this is overclockable. Wait a minute. What is that? Shielding coming through. Yeah. Let's see. Here we go. See right here? Some of that metal showing up here. I don't like that. We got that taped up. We'll have to contact the dealer or Corsair. But I still need to make sure all these other components work as well. So we will proceed. Most everything has different size fittings and keyholes. That way you can't do anything too horribly wrong without trying a little harder. This takes the normal PCIe, even though it's the Gen 4. Okay, took our keyboard up here. If you have graphics on your motherboard, but you have a graphics card, you always want to plug into your graphics card. Most always. So I took one of our fans out of our case here. I don't want the fan hitting the circuitry. Of course, that would be exhaust. Probably be better if I blow towards it instead. There we go. So CPU fan. I'm a fan. Yeah. Okay, plugging it in. I need to turn it on. Let's see here. PW should be power. Reset is right there. So that's 1, 2, and 1, 2. This is gonna scare the daylights out of me. There it goes. It is CPU DRM. We got all our fans turning. USPS is not. We see VGA. CPU's off. DM's off. Power is going throttling left and right. HDMI should be plugged in good. I still have no signal. And did everything turn off? Or is it just throttled down? Okay, well, I just got done. It did post. What the problem was is that I had the graphics card actually angled too far away, I believe, and it wasn't set. Either way, I did take it back, the graphics card back out, put it back in. Just kind of looked around 3 times and then turned around and then did sort of a post jig. And that was just a dance joke. It's not a real thing. Anyway, I turned it back on, tried it again, and it posted fine. I was able to see it. I didn't want to do it again because our CPU was already at 101 or so, and it was only on for just a split minute.
Look, we posted our first try. How easy was that? So what we're looking for is to see that the CPU is registered. You see the 13 gen, our 32 gigabytes of RAM, our 2 sticks of 16 gigabytes. Check some frequencies. Everything's looking good. We don't have a hard drive, so nothing in our SATA. It shows our graphics card, and for now, only one of our SSDs, or M2 drive. It shows that we have that one fan spinning on our CPU. So let's quickly turn this off so we can complete our build.
We'll move on from now. Now that we've tested out the processor, I want to put this upgraded plate to secure the processor. We're going to leave the processor inside the socket here. That way we don't damage any threads. Those are really loose. We're going to reuse these screws, so we got to be careful with them. This particular plate has a arrow as well, so we'll combine that with the arrow there. Make sure to keep that clean. It doesn't fit. No, I'm sure it does. There we go. I haven't seen any tutorials or the official site that talks about putting any paste, but it is metal on metal. Very tempting to put a little bit. I could do it. Very tempting. Alright. Now with most things that you screw down, you want to stagger how you screw them in. Here is going to be, since there's only 4, simple X configuration. That way it does go down evenly. Now if you do find yourself forgetting what you're doing and you end up doing one side way too much, you can always unscrew it a little bit and restart the pattern. The next thing we're going to do is put the back plate for our water cooling system, or AIO. Okay, to start off with, we'll flip this around. We're going to add these little protective stickers to the holes here. Probably be easier for me to line this up with the screw head. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Mounting mechanism there. Very good directions from the Arctic Freeze. You do need to scan the QR code on the box. Take you right there. Alright, let's flip this around. Hopefully this won't fall out. Like that. Let's just put some pressure on it like this. There we go. Yeah, that's a thing of beauty. And the motherboard's not too bad either. Okay, on this side we have some more protective washers. Yeah, it's much better using the screw. And now we just screw in our risers. Once we get the motherboard installed, there'll actually be something over this. I just went ahead and put these little thumb screws inside the risers. Got the case up here. So on this particular one, we have a nice little index here. So A equals ATX. That's the type of motherboard we have. So make sure you go through all the standoffs. Because I'm going to have our water cooler radiator in this area here, I'm going to go ahead and remove this plate. It's going to be in the way. Well, might need a bigger screwdriver. There we go. Not sure if this big one's going to fit in this corner though. Go ahead and take that fan out too, I guess, as well. Alright, we got that out. As I did, I noticed there's some little metal shavings I'll blow out of this area. Yeah, just kind of eyeball and make sure those standoffs are right still. It's not like they shift, but make sure they're correct. Yeah. It looks pretty good. A couple of these screws in. Screws. Yeah. They came behind this box, which I can only access it from the other side. Yep. Okay, came in this nifty little box. They put inside the hard drive holder. Got them. Let's see. Alright, do two of the easy ones first. Now, looks like this needs a slide. There we go. Little snack crackle pop. Before I do much more, I am curious how I mount the AIO. It's definitely not going to work. No, correction. I can remove these hard drive holders that I'm not going to need. That's not structural. So I'm with the intake and the outtake in the bottom. If I can, I'll need to put in the graphics card just to see about clearance. I guess that is the number 1 and 2. What I'm doing is taking these slats out through here, put the graphics card in. It won't interfere with the graphics card plug-in, and it's gonna be going up and around, so it's not gonna push against the graphics card. Now we'll just go back to cabling. First thing I do is try to figure out where to connect, or all the cables are gonna connect up here, connect them, feed them to the back, or feed them through and connect them. Yes. Okay, so this is the back of the board. That's where the motherboard is. That's where we installed their bracket for an AIO. It comes out of the box a little bit better than this, but I had to take the fans out. What these wires are coming out, we have our USB on top. Here we go. We have our audio, power button, hard drive indicator. There's also some fan controls and other things in here. I'm not going to use those. I'm going to use it on the motherboard. But you can go in the BIOS and set fan curves. So that's what all these little dingly wires are for. Well, let's get the big wires done first, which includes the big power cable. Was that 24 pin? This down here at this bottom corner is where that power supply or PSU is going to go. Let's feed this bad boy in. Then these two probably need to go up top. Probably should have fit them in before I put the motherboard in. I did think about that. Looks like there's a nice convenient little hole to go through. Brings a tear to your eye. Go ahead and plug in this bad mamma jamma. I feel like it's an awfully hard turn. The other problem is too, I mean, there's no other way to make a turn, but that kind of limits you opening up that clip. Yeah, no. Why don't you whine about it? Okay. I guess we'll get these plugged in. What I need to do is have it plug in, lift up, and then spin out. So yes, that does look like that's a good direction. Okay. There we go. So this is the USB-C port, and we already have one in the back, which is great. 20 gigs if you're curious per second, but this one's 10 gig per second. Still be extremely useful for today's appliances, or peripherals, I should say. This case doesn't have a connector for that. You can buy extension. But yeah, we can drill into this case. I can mount it, or we can just put it in the back, just like right in those other slots, just like that you did for the video card. So that goes right here in this USB, which fantastic bend. I really don't like how much that bends. Should probably use a zip tie. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. If I pull through the back here by accident or too much, it will kind of pull straight down instead of wobbling it like this, which that makes me nervous as it is. Now you don't want to go too strong and kink it. So I'm not going to tighten it all the way. Okay, now we're going to pull through the audio. Oh yeah, power and everything else for that matter. It does have a little blocked port. So that's how we should be able to find which way this goes in. Yeah, it's not going anywhere, but that does not come with a clamp. So the motherboard comes with a sweet little adapter. The purpose of this is for you to be able to put all the little tiny connectors and then just shove it in, which is brilliant. On this particular model, the white and black dot is positive. All right, plug them in. The graphics card. There we go. I mean, I'm pretty sure I don't want to go up under. Yeah, if I go down through here, it's pretty close to these fans. Don't want to go across or anything because these fins need a vent. I think we're going to go this direction. Go up underneath the car. And there's a little area here. I'll leave a small air gap here, just so I don't cover up any of these small vents. One other thing here. Oh, yes. We have our SATA connectors. I do have a spare SATA laying around, so go ahead and at least, put 2 possible connectors for future back here. According to the manual, we want to plug into these 2 right here. So what's my plan of attack? Yeah. So I guess we'll just stack them kind of like this. Well, slides right in. I think I'll pull it out a little bit. Grip Yes, for now, I think we just manage the cable. We'll come back. Well, maybe I should go ahead and do the AIO while we're turning this direction. Yeah, probably be better because down here, the AIO is going to get kind of crammed, and that's where the cables and the power supplies could be. Okay, I got the radiator mounted. And I believe this is actually going to work the way I wanted it to. I knew when I ordered it, I was cutting it close. And I couldn't find anywhere online that had this exact setup. But yeah, that's going to fit. It seems like it's a little stressed, a little short, but it's not really. It's putting more strain on the pipes more than it is anything. It's pushing this down just a little bit, but that's all it's doing is about this much, which is nothing. It's not pushing against the actual video card itself. So before I do much more, I'm gonna have to unmount this and flip these fans around. Because right now, by default, looking at the manual, and this is actually going to be exhaust, and this is the front of the case. I would like for the front of the case to be intake. I do like to have a wider area of cooler air for intake and then a smaller area for heat, like we do in server rooms. Seems to work better that way. This also has vents at the top, so I'm not really used to that. Of course, also it depends on how you have it configured in your room or set up in your room. So mileage may vary. They're flipped now. That went off without a hitch. Real easy to do. Just make sure that the cables are behind the screws. We're going to clean this with a 91% vodka. No, rubbing alcohol. Then we have some Cryonite that we're going to use for CPU paste. So there's 3 different ways to apply thermal paste to a CPU. Well, actually, there's infinite amount of ways, but there's only 3 right ways. One's a single dot in the center, either about the size of a rice, I guess a plump rice, maybe a sushi rice, a size of a pea, or a X. Now, for the bigger ones, I would say X is probably the more correct one. The other way is to spread it thinly with a little spatula. Well, that's black on black. Fantastic. There we go. The X is probably the best, but spreading it on is about the same. I feel like I'm going to spread this on just for ease of mind to make sure that it actually gets spread all the way through. And it is probably going to be hard for me to spread like this. Another pro tip, don't spit on your motherboard. I can't get my angles in there. So I can see why applying this outside of a case would actually be the ideal situation. So you can get these angles in there. Okay. First thing we need to do is take off this little label here that says warning take off. Make sure, yep, wire's in a good spot. Out of the way. I think I can reach in with the... There we go. Now again with this, I'm going to cross tighten. I just go ahead and tighten it until I start to get resistance with my fingers. Now I didn't think to actually plug this in when we were testing everything the other day, or last night. So hopefully it works. Okay. So here we go. Turn. On this particular motherboard, there is a fan. CPU opt, which according to the manual is what they want you to do if you have a CPU water bill. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, I installed the fans back again, the case fans, and then I need to connect those to the motherboard. Updating the AIO. After I tightened it all down, it feels like it's got enough play in it. And it's not hitting the motherboard. It's got plenty of wiggle room, which hopefully doesn't wiggle. It does push on this cable here just a little bit, but I think as things warm up and settle, everything will be a little bit more flexible. Alright, let me go push those wires through. Alright, I'll just barely put this one through. The first one I put through, the longer one, is going to be the top of the case. So fan 1's over here. Sure, let's do fan 1 for the top of the case. Let's see, and this does have a key. System fan 2. So I think we can flip it around and do cable management. This is to your front I/O, like your on-off button. These fan cables here, I'm actually not going to use. I'm going to connect it to we already connected to the motherboard. These are our hard drive cables. We'll put those to the side because this is where the SSDs would go. Our fans cable. We'll wire all the power lines first since they're the heaviest. And down here you can see where the power supply unit is, PSU. It's not mounted yet, so I can get to the connectors easier. Okay, here's the main power line, cables. Fan goes through there. I think I want to try to mount this main power as close to the case as possible. That's what my thought is. Let's see. Is there a way for me to mount it like this, maybe? Take these ties and slide it up underneath here, and then actually go ahead and anchor it close up here. These cable ties do not cost very much, so I would just use a bunch of these cable ties, and if you don't like it, just cut them out. Make sure you leave a little bit of room, and you don't pinch the cable too much, or you can't cut them without cutting the cable, of course. But the other thing I think I might try to do is use these twist ties. Once I get to the point where I think I might want it, then I'll just switch it back up to the cable ties. Really not sure if that's the best thing to do, though. Never tried that before. We're going to do it anyway. Remember, there's a side panel here that slides in. So you make sure you clear that by just kind of looking down a little bit, see how far it sticks out. Yeah, I'm not really sure if that's deep enough. Yeah, this twist tie action I don't think is going to work for us. There's no way that I can have this top CPU connectors run that direction. I think I'll have to run it down this channel here. That might interfere with this hard drive. Oh, wait a minute. There is a little air gap behind it. Looks like we can tuck it in like so. Although if I ever mount a drive to there, I would take this off. These just kind of lock in place and you pull down. You have some rubber grommets there. I guess I help with vibration. Yeah, to make that turn, I'm going to test that out sooner rather than later, unfortunately. It's really the only thing holding it back is going to be that hard drive caddy. Not really planning on making this a showpiece, so I'm not worried about it. Just wanted easy to manage. These drives are going to be plugged in and unplugged a lot more often than this. So I think slamming this to the case makes more sense than me putting this behind it. So we'll leave that as is. Yeah. Alright. Remember, don't make it too tight because you probably have to fix it again. Another thing is if you don't have any of those wire cutters handy, you can always use a pair of nail clippers. Clip them through. Another reason why these twist ties, even temporarily, would not be very nice to use for this, because there's just more wire sticking out, and it does make you want to twitch a little bit while you're trying to figure this out. Now, I think I'll just keep pushing down. Fan control? No, okay. Speakers, function, fans. Fan is here, and fan is there. So I try to bundle these into like, and that's sound. There we go. And then I'll put this in here. Probably just let it hang. Okay. Also, I need power for these drives. Let me get one mounted and then get the power connected down here. Alright, I think I decided I'm going to do it on the far side in case I ever want to add one. Make it easier on myself and add it right here. Just happen to have an extra 500 gig SSD 8070 Evo laying around, as one does. And even though that's not a huge amount, especially when you're talking about this type of storage that I need, it's nothing to laugh at. Okay. Stop laughing. Stop it. Well, it looks like I could strap that down now after all, considering it loops down. Well, I don't think I'm going to group that. Yeah, I still have that power for these two. So we will use this. But I'm going to turn this power unit around and try to connect everything. Oh, come on. I want to pull back quite a bit, I tell you that much. Is that in or did I twist it? It's in now. Alright, well, let me do this one on the caddy corner here, and then we'll check all the cables, see if it's too tight. I need to do something different. I mean, I feel maybe a little pressure right here. But yeah, I don't feel like I'm pinching or forcing or anything. It's good. So right here, it all goes to the header. These two are the fan. I cleared this out a little bit by pushing these to the side instead of coming back down and up. I just kind of shoved everything with the SATA over here on this side. This is the two CPUs that come up. Really like for it to sit a little better, but no matter what I do, it kind of pops up. And this is plenty of flesh enough, so who cares? We're good. Yeah, pretty clean for the most part. Definitely serviceable, which is the important part. Yeah, there's nothing binding at the bottom here. Plenty of slack, actually. Cable's nice. It actually feels a little tighter than what it was. Oh. I don't know. Probably just being paranoid. Yeah, I probably need to get that fixed there. I don't know. Yeah, I'll cut half of it out. This is good. Yeah, I didn't pull anything too tight. Everything's out of the fans. Nothing should be intruding the air. Bada bing, bada boom.
Some basics you may want to do, even before installing your OS, is to enable XMP. Maybe your motherboard has some predefined optimizations. And then also adjust your fan curves, especially for your AIO. Don't worry too much if it takes a long time to boot back up after you make some changes. It's just the memory training. After I've made the changes to BIOS, when I reboot, I like to go back into the BIOS and make sure everything is as I set it, because sometimes I forget to hit save. Was it the same, I guess, male fitting and female fitting were going to be the same. Well, this time the male is a lot bigger than the female fittings, and one male can have multiple females. I am not going to explain it like that. Remember, there's no right or wrong way. There's just happy little clouds. Well, except for if it doesn't turn on, something blows up. I mean, mostly it's just happy clouds. Happy clouds. Although, if it does blow up, it might be a little smoky, so it's kind of clouding, so that kind of works. Okay. Those actually work a lot better for me than wire cutters most of the time. Even if the other technicians look at you weird. Of course, I always tell them hygiene's an important thing. Then the gamers look at me weird. Oh! Speaking of hygiene, dog hairs.